Listen closely, because what you're about to hear is not random, and it is not coincidence. You did not arrive at this moment by accident. You were drawn here. There is a reason your heart slowed down just now. A reason your attention sharpened. A reason something inside you whispered, stay. Because the story unfolding right now is already connected to you. Someone you never expected, someone you quietly ruled out, someone you assumed could never cross certain lines, has been carrying feelings they did not plan, did not chase, and did not understand at first. This was not convenience. This was not curiosity. This was not rebellion. This was something that arrived without permission. And age tried to stand in the way. Logic spoke loudly. Fear raised its voice. Society drew lines and rules and expectations. But something stronger overruled them all. There are moments when God allows connections that the mind cannot explain. Moments when hearts recognize each other before the world approves. Moments when timing bends, not to human comfort, but to divine intention. And this is one of those moments. You may have noticed it in subtle ways. A look that lingered too long. A silence that felt heavier than words. A sudden change in their energy when you entered the room. You may have felt confusion rise in your chest. Not attraction exactly, not expectation, but a strange pull you couldn't name. That pull wasn't imagination. Because long before anything was spoken, before either of you admitted anything, even to yourselves, something was already being written. They fought it. They told themselves it was impossible. They told themselves it was inappropriate, unrealistic, untimely. They told themselves age should be the end of the story. But feelings do not obey calendars. And when God permits something, resistance only delays the truth, it never erases it. Here's what makes this different. This person didn't fall in love with an image of you. They didn't fall in love with attention, or charm, or surface beauty. They fell in love with your presence. The way your soul speaks even when you're quiet. The way your energy softens rooms without effort. The way you carry both strength and gentleness without trying to prove either. They noticed things no one else noticed. Your pauses, your restraint, your unspoken kindness. And the more they tried to ignore it, the louder it became. They prayed about it, not for permission, but for clarity. And instead of the feelings leaving, they deepened. Because when God allows a connection, He does not always remove obstacles first. Sometimes He allows the obstacle to test the sincerity of the heart. Age was never the real issue. Fear was. Fear of judgment. Fear of misunderstanding. Fear of disrupting the life they had carefully arranged. Yet every time they imagined a future without you in it, something felt missing, unfinished. You were not supposed to know this yet. Not from them. But you were supposed to feel it. That's why you've sensed a shift. Why conversations feel different now. Why their presence feels charged with meaning. This connection is not rushing. It is not reckless. It is not built on impulse. It is unfolding slowly, with weight, with awareness, with reverence. Because when something is allowed by God, it doesn't scream for attention. It waits for the right moment. And this moment, right now, is the beginning of awareness. Not action. Not confession. Awareness. You are standing at the edge of a truth that is still forming. A story that has not spoken its name yet. And no matter how unexpected this feels, no matter how surprising the source may be, this connection was not created to confuse you. It was created to reveal something about love that you were ready to understand only now. Stay with this feeling. Do not rush to define it. Do not dismiss it, because what God allows always carries purpose before explanation. And this is only the beginning. Stay with me, because now the story moves from feeling to meaning. There is a reason this connection did not arrive loudly. There is a reason it did not announce itself with chaos or confusion. There is a reason it unfolded quietly, almost invisibly, while the world continued as normal. This kind of connection is never rushed. It arrives the way dawn does, slow, certain, unstoppable. What you need to understand now is this. When God allows an unexpected love, He also prepares the hearts involved long before the meeting ever makes sense. You are being shaped, not punished. not delayed. Prepared. There were lessons you had to learn about yourself first, boundaries you had to build, strength you had to develop, silence you had to survive. And while you were growing through moments that felt lonely or misunderstood, someone else was also being worked on, quietly. They were being softened. Life humbled them. Experience refined them. Responsibilities matured them. They reached a point where surface-level connections no longer satisfied them, where noise felt empty, where attraction without depth felt meaningless. That's when you appeared, not as temptation, not as distraction, but as recognition. This is where age loses its power, because age measures time, but love measures alignment. You didn't meet as two numbers on a timeline. You met as two souls at the same stage of readiness. That's why conversations between you feel unusually natural, why silence doesn't feel awkward, why understanding flows without explanation. They see in you something rare, peace without dullness, wisdom without heaviness, energy without chaos, and you sense in them something steady, grounding without control, care without pressure, presence without demand. This balance is not common. That's why it frightened them at first. They questioned it deeply. They tried to rationalize it away. They told themselves it was admiration, respect, coincidence. But admiration doesn't keep returning when you try to bury it. Respect doesn't ache when you're apart. Coincidence doesn't grow stronger with time. So they stopped fighting the truth, and started listening to it, not acting on it. Listening. Because this connection is not meant to rush into labels. It is meant to grow in understanding. Here is something important you must hear. This love is not about possession. It is about protection. Not control, but care. Not urgency, but intention. That is why it feels safe, even when it feels intense. God does not allow love that destroys your peace. He allows love that strengthens it. And if you've noticed how calm this connection feels, even when unspoken, that calmness is your confirmation. Now listen carefully. There will be moments when doubt tries to enter. Moments when outside voices seem louder than inner truth. Moments when timing feels slow. Do not mistake slowness for absence. Some things move slowly because they are meant to last. If this message is touching you deeply right now, take a quiet moment. Let it settle. And if your heart feels guided to do so, share this message with someone who might need clarity too. Sometimes clarity grows when it's shared. Back to the story. This person has not crossed boundaries. They have not disrespected you. They have not rushed you. That restraint is not distance. It is honor. They are waiting, not for courage, but for alignment. Alignment with purpose. Alignment with timing. Alignment with what God allows to unfold naturally. You may wonder why this connection surfaced now. Because now, you are strong enough to recognize healthy love. And they are wise enough to offer it without fear. This is not a chapter built on impulse. It is a chapter built on awareness. And awareness always comes before destiny reveals itself fully. Something will shift soon, not suddenly, but clearly. A conversation, a realization, a moment of honesty, not dramatic, not overwhelming, just true. And when it happens, you will understand why it had to unfold exactly this way. If this message resonates with your journey, let your presence be known. Your reflection matters here. And if you wish to stay connected to messages like this, staying close ensures you don't miss what unfolds next. Because the next part of this story moves deeper, into purpose, choice, and what happens when love is no longer hidden, but still guided. Stay with me. Stay present, because now the message moves from understanding into transformation. What you are experiencing is not just the awareness of unexpected love. It is the awakening of a deeper truth about how love is meant to mature the soul. Many people believe love arrives to complete them, but the kind of love God allows arrives to refine them. This is why this connection did not appear earlier in your life. Earlier, it would have distracted you. Earlier, it would have overwhelmed you. Earlier, it might have been misunderstood. But now, you are ready to hold it without losing yourself. And the other person, they are ready to offer it without fear. That balance is sacred. You see, age often becomes a surface excuse for something deeper, readiness. Some people grow older without growing wiser. Others grow younger while carrying ancient understanding. God does not match people by birthdays. He aligns them by capacity. Capacity to listen. Capacity to respect. Capacity to grow together instead of pulling each other apart. That is why this love feels educational. You are learning something important through this connection, not just about love, but about yourself. You are learning how it feels to be seen without being judged, how it feels to be valued without being claimed, how it feels to be respected without being limited. This is emotional education, and it is rare. You may notice how this connection encourages you to become calmer, clearer, more intentional. You think before you speak now. You feel before you react. You reflect instead of rushing. That is not coincidence. Healthy love does not stimulate chaos. It stabilizes growth. And the other person is learning too. They are learning patience where they once relied on certainty, humility where they once relied on control, presence where they once relied on outcomes. This connection is shaping both of you. That is why it feels meaningful even without constant interaction. That is why distance has not weakened it. That is why silence has not erased it. Because purpose does not depend on proximity. Here is something deeply important to understand. God does not allow love that interrupts destiny. He allows love that supports it. This person is not here to distract you from your path. They are here to walk alongside it, whether closely or quietly. That is why there is no pressure, no urgency, no emotional pulling, only alignment. And alignment grows slowly because it is built to last. You might wonder what happens next. Not in a dramatic sense, but in a real, grounded way. What happens next is choice. Not forced choice. Not emotional reaction. Conscious choice. You will soon reach a point where awareness turns into clarity, where feelings no longer feel confusing, where intentions feel clean and honest. And when that clarity arrives, you will not feel fear. You will feel peace. Peace is the loudest confirmation God gives. If something were wrong, your spirit would resist. If something were unsafe, your intuition would tighten. But instead, you feel steady. That steadiness is your signal. This connection is teaching you how to love without losing independence, how to care without control, how to trust without surrendering your values. That lesson alone makes it valuable, regardless of the outcome. But this story is not ending here. Because love that God allows never stops at feeling. It moves into responsibility. Responsibility toward truth. Responsibility toward growth. Responsibility toward what is being built, slowly and intentionally. Soon, something will invite honesty. Not confrontation, but openness. A moment where words finally align with what has been unspoken. When that moment comes, it will not feel shocking. It will feel right. Until then, continue being who you are becoming. Do not shrink. Do not rush. Do not doubt the calm you feel. Because love that grows this way, with patience, respect, and depth, is not common. It is chosen. And what is chosen is always protected. Stay with this story. Because the next part reveals what happens when purpose and love stand at the same doorway, and neither turns away. Stay here, because now the message enters the space where love meets responsibility. This is the part most people never reach. Not because they are unworthy, but because they are impatient. What God allows to unfold slowly is never meant to confuse you. It is meant to prepare you. Until now, you have been learning what this connection is. Now you begin to understand what this connection requires. Because unexpected love does not ask, "How does this feel?" It asks, "Who are you becoming because of this?" That question changes everything. This is where maturity rises above emotion. You may notice something subtle happening inside you lately. Your standards feel clearer. Your tolerance for shallow energy feels lower. Your focus on purpose feels stronger. That is not detachment. That is alignment. When love is allowed by God, it never pulls you away from growth. It draws you deeper into it. This is where physical understanding enters, not in impulse, but in respect. You begin to understand your own body differently. You respect your energy. You protect your peace. You become aware that attraction without intention is noise, but attraction with purpose is grounding. This connection has not awakened urgency in you. It has awakened discipline. You are more careful now with who you let close, more intentional with what you give access to, more aware of what drains you and what strengthens you. That is physical education of the soul. Because real attraction does not weaken self-control. It refines it. And the other person feels this too. They are not chasing you. They are choosing restraint. That restraint is not distance. It is reverence. They understand something important, that what grows slowly builds trust. And what builds trust builds safety. Safety is the foundation of lasting love. This is why this connection feels steady even when it feels deep. Why it feels warm without being overwhelming. Why it feels close without being consuming. You are not losing yourself here. You are becoming more yourself. Now listen carefully. There will be a moment, quiet, ordinary, almost unremarkable, where you realize this connection has already changed you. Not through dramatic events, but through subtle shifts. You respond instead of reacting. You listen instead of assuming. You choose clarity instead of comfort. That is success. Not success measured by applause, but by inner stability. This is emotional success, physical balance, spiritual clarity, and it matters more than people realize. Some connections come to entertain the heart, others come to educate the soul. This one is the second kind. That is why it feels serious even without commitment, why it feels meaningful even without promises, why it feels real even without definition. Because it is building capacity. Capacity to love wisely. Capacity to choose intentionally. Capacity to stand firm when feelings deepen. Soon, you will be faced with clarity, not pressure. You will know whether this connection is meant to move forward, remain supportive, or simply remain sacred in what it taught you. And whatever the outcome, you will not feel regret. Because love that teaches you how to grow is never wasted. Age never stopped this. Timing never blocked it. Fear never defeated it. Because what God allows does not fight against truth. It reveals it. If you feel calmer now than when you started listening. If your thoughts feel clearer. If your heart feels steadier. That is your confirmation. Stay present. Stay grounded. Stay honest with yourself. Because the next part of this story does not focus on feelings anymore. It focuses on choice. And choice is where destiny finally speaks. Stay with this moment, because this is where everything becomes complete. Not loud, not dramatic, not rushed, complete. This is where the story ends, not with a declaration, but with understanding. By now, you can feel it clearly. This connection was never meant to trap you in emotion. It was meant to liberate you into clarity. You were never being pulled toward confusion. You were being guided toward discernment. And discernment is the final gift. You now understand why this love arrived the way it did. Why it did not force itself. Why it did not demand answers too early. Why it respected timing instead of challenging it. Because real love does not ask you to abandon wisdom. It invites wisdom to stand beside it. This is where age finally loses all meaning. Not because age disappears, but because it becomes irrelevant. What mattered was never the difference in years. What mattered was the sameness in values, the alignment in direction, the shared respect for growth. You were not brought into this story to chase someone, and they were not brought into your life to claim you. You were brought together to recognize each other. Recognition is powerful. It says, I see who you are becoming. I respect the path you are walking. I will not interfere with your purpose. That kind of recognition is love in its highest form. Now comes the ending truth. This connection has already succeeded, not because it reached a destination, but because it fulfilled its purpose. You are calmer now, clearer now, more grounded now. You understand love better, not as urgency, but as responsibility. You understand attraction better, not as impulse, but as awareness. You understand connection better, not as possession, but as partnership of growth. This is emotional education completed. This is physical awareness balanced. This is success measured internally. And whatever happens next, whether paths move closer or remain respectfully aligned, you are no longer the same person who started listening. You are stronger, more intentional, more self-aware. That is the real ending. Love that God allows never leaves you empty-handed. It leaves you expanded. Expanded in understanding. Expanded in patience. Expanded in self-respect. And if one day this connection moves into something more defined, it will do so without fear, without rush, without compromise, because it will be built on everything you learned here. And if it remains what it is now, quiet, respectful, meaningful, it will still stand as proof that love does not need permission from age, only alignment with purpose. So take a deep breath. You were never behind. You were never mistaken. You were never imagining this. You were simply being guided, gently, intentionally, wisely. And that is how the best stories end. Not with noise, but with peace.